Mother Amie, a loved religious sister of the Congregation of Our Lady of the Missions, was a renowned homeopathic practitioner, a psychologist, a guide, a revered social worker, and a teacher, all rolled into one. A champion of the poor and a great healer for troubled minds and hearts, Mother Amie was also an able administrator with great leadership qualities. She dedicated 74 years of outstanding service to the Church and her religious family of the Sisters of Our Lady of the Missions. Mother Amie lived and worked for the last 34 years of her life in Calcutta at the convent of Our Lady Queen of the Missions, Park Circus.
When you mention Mother Amie, my thoughts go back to the time when I was a child. And I would hear the locals talk about a certain Rani Mem Saab, a friend of the poor and the sick. And she was sought after by many in the area. Little did I know that Rani Mem Saab was our own Mother Amie, and Rani Mem Saab's school was Queen of the Missions, Calcutta. Handwriting is the key to a person's personality, and how true it is, because Mother Amie's beautiful handwriting reflected her beautiful personality. Later on, in school, my memories of Mother Amie as a moral science teacher in the senior classes. She was given the responsibility of preparing us for the challenges of life beyond school, for instilling in us those moral values which would last forever. One thing I remember, that during those years, she kept insisting that a girl's most beautiful and most precious possession was her modesty. And this she must guard at all times, at all cost. Mother Amie also taught us that God has a plan for each one of us. And what is important, that we must carry out this plan with sincerity, simplicity, and humility. This sincerity, simplicity, and humility, as we all past pupils know, was the moral code of the school. This moral tone was set by Mother Amie, and it remains even so today. QMS is recognized as a school where virtue and knowledge is handed out with humility. It was Mother Amie's belief that to bind the world, there must be love, peace, and brotherhood. How true it is in today's world. Mother Amie was phenomenal. The youth who had an ailment, the sick and penniless mother, burdened by several children, but no support, the irresponsible man who had no job, all who were troubled by illness and personal tragedy, could be assured that when they came to Mother Amie, they would find a healer, a social worker, and a counselor. This was possible because Mother Amie had such a wide circle of friends that included influential people, the rich, the common man, where she would find someone who could help these people with their problems, even as she did her best to cure them of their illnesses. Mother Amie's commitment to the youth was such that she never missed an opportunity to counsel them. She thought it her duty to caution them against a lifestyle that would lead to excesses in food, in drink, in enjoyment and entertainment, together with the doses of medicine and the prescription. She would advise them on the virtues of good habits and suggestions for a healthy and useful life. Her sincerity and simplicity would win their hearts and win their trust, never causing them embarrassment.
Mother Amie was born on 17th January 1894 to Auguste and Cecilia Hofstetter, a devout Catholic couple in the Rapperswiller district of Alsace in France. She was baptized on 18th January 1894 and christened Marie Antoinette. The day of her baptism also marked the first death anniversary of Euphrasie Barbier, Holy Mother Foundress of the Sisters of Our Lady of the Missions, the congregation where Marie Antoinette became our most beloved Mother Amie. Marie's parents were in a dilemma when their daughter, at the tender age of 15, expressed a desire of joining the Sisters of Our Lady of the Missions after meeting two sisters of the same order at her place. Marie's strong calling persuaded her parents to surrender, and they made the supreme sacrifice and allowed her to enter the convent. They resigned to their fate and accepted that they would not see their Marie again, as she would be serving humanity through God in far-off lands. So Marie left home with the two sisters to join the congregation of Our Lady of the Missions in Deal, England, in November 1909. Marie was profoundly influenced by her saintly foundress Euphrasie Barbier and her aunt Mother Pacôme, the third Superior General of the order. She received her first habit in 1910 and took her first vows on 5th July 1912 in Deal, England. Love for humanity and her indomitable spirit steered her journey to unknown lands among unknown people of then undivided India. From Deal, Sister Aime and her companion reached Bombay, the present-day Mumbai, via France and Italy in September 1912 and boarded the train for Calcutta, which is now known as Kolkata. They were welcomed by Mother Gonzaga at Loreto House in Middleton Row. After a brief sojourn in Calcutta, they reached Chittagong on October 7, 1912, after a 5 days arduous journey. She was soon initiated into the works of the mission, teaching in school, visiting the sick, manual work, and daily Bengali lessons. Just a year later, in 1913, the 19-year-old Sister Aime was transferred to Akhiab in Burma, now known as Myanmar, where she was given charge of the little boy boarders. On Sundays, she had the joy of visiting patients in the hospital, the work which she was to take up later and continue till failing health prevented her. She passed the teacher's training course under the able guidance of Sister Marie Victoire. In those days, she also had daily lessons in Burmese. 1914, World War I broke out. Young Sister Aime spent the war years in Akhiab as internee without any contact with her family. Times were tough and challenging, but she worked through it all with courage, compassion, and utmost dedication. She reached Chittagong from Akyab on 28th August 1918 for her final vow. She had to return to Akyab after a day's stay only due to wartime regulations. Soon after, Sister Aime contracted malignant malaria, and as per the doctor's advice, she was sent to Haflong in Assam for recuperation. Here, she taught in St. Agnes in the KG section, gave music lessons, and later took charge of the boarders. In 1921, she was sent to Dhaka. In Dhaka, she took charge of the KG section, the church choir, helped the orphans, and made regular visits to the sick and poor in their homes and in the hospitals. Meanwhile, Sister attended lectures given by the local doctors and was qualified in senior home nursing, hygiene, and first aid. In April 1926, an epidemic of cholera broke out in Dhaka. On 21st April, Sisters Mary Victoria, Mary Alphonsus, Mary Thomas, and Mary Amie contracted the fatal disease. The doctors did what they could, but they were unable to save the first three sisters. On the second day of the illness, Sister Mary Amie was at death's door, and all believed, including the doctor, that she would soon follow the other three victims. So much so, even her coffin was prepared. The Superior, Mother Mary of Jesus, placed a relic of the saintly foundress on the unconscious sister who was laboring between life and death. Sister Mary Amie regained consciousness and opened her eyes. From then on, Sister's condition steadily improved, and the doctor could not but admit that it was a miraculous cure. Sister Mary Amie was named Superior of St. Francis Xavier's Convent in Dhaka in 1932, and in 1937 she was appointed as Provincial Superior of the Indian province. Mother Amie established St. Mary's College in Shillong in 1937, and the institution has been a great blessing as it has catered to thousands of girls since its inception. Mother also established a convent in Cherrapunji, where a school, together with a hostel for poor children from the surrounding villages and a homeopathic dispensary, was started. Mother Amie used to often walk to the convent in Raliang, 62 miles away from Cherrapunji, and also helped the sisters to get the water connection from a large well 600 yards away from the house. 1939, the Second World War broke out, and soon Burma, part of the Indian province then, was occupied by the Japanese. The sisters were taken prisoners by the Japanese soldiers, and Sister Mary Amie, as Provincial Superior, was gravely anxious as she was powerless to help them in any way. Through her prayers, particularly to the Holy Mother Foundress, and the prayers and sacrifices of the whole congregation, the sisters came out of the war unscathed and stronger in spirit. Mother Amie, as the one in charge, shouldered the great responsibility of evacuating the sisters, the novitiate members, and the children boarders of Chittagong Convent to Haflong in the North Kachar Hills as per government orders. During her stay in Dhaka, Mother Amie was immensely inspired by Dr. Angelo, who treated the sisters of the convent with homeopathic medicines and restored their health. Since then, she took keen interest in the science of homeopathy. She took lessons from Dr. Angelo and eventually obtained her MDH degree. At the end of her term as provincial, she was transferred to Queen of the Missions Convent, Calcutta on 4th September 1952. In the beginning, Mother Amie's main apostolate was in the junior school, where she got deeply involved with the pupils, the staff, and the parents.
I think it's my good fortune that I am able to even say a little of what I feel of this great person whom we know as Mother Amie. It's difficult to just pinpoint her one good quality or a few good qualities because there were so many that she was so good at. When I look at myself, I think what I'd like to share with you is my days with Mother Amie as one of her students in class. It was a unique experience. I was about 9 years old, and I'd like to put in a little bit of my very personal feelings at what had happened. She was our class teacher, and a class teacher in those days took all the subjects, maybe except for the second language. And Mother was one person who did not believe that a class starts when the bell rings and we stop teaching when the bell rings for the end of the class and the beginning of the next class. Being a class teacher, she had that advantage. So one incident that I want to share with you is this, that in those days, our first Prime Minister, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, and his family were very close to Mother Amie and known to her very personally. So one fine morning, Mother Amie announced that she was going to take letter writing and teach us how to write a letter. We were all very excited because she announced that she was going to help us to write a letter to our Prime Minister. Little children at the age of 9 being able to write to the Prime Minister was a very big thing. So she put in her own beautiful handwriting, she wrote out the format of the letter on the blackboard and we copied it down. One by one, she made each one of us put in a little sentence that could be added, and eventually we put it all together. Now, this took a little time. And then, by the end of the morning, that is round about 11 o'clock, we had the letter ready. Then she told us exactly how to take a nice paper, write out the whole letter, and bring it after the day was over. So we were very excited, and our lunch period was all about our excitement regarding writing a letter to the Prime Minister. When we started class again, we were asked to show all the letters which we had prepared. So she said, she collected the papers and we went home. Next morning, she gave us another surprise, and this time she told us that she was going to take us to the post office so that we could personally go and see how a letter was posted. Now, I don't think today there are many schools or many classes that do this with their children. She helped us to make our own envelopes, to write the address on the top, and lo and behold, we were trooping off to the nearest post office. Stood in a line. Mother Amie had already been there, and we were asked to bring a rupee each, and we bought our stamps. We were asked to put the stamp in the correct place, and we sent the letter. Now, I think if you look at it, it is not only English that we learnt that day. We learned how to buy stamps, we learned geography, we learned about the civics, we learned about who our Prime Minister was, and so many subjects were included in that one day. And I think that was something that I can never forget. Mother Amie had her own way of teaching, and it is with that feeling of pride today that I feel that whatever little I was able to contribute to the school as a teacher, was partly or majorly because what mother had inspired in me to be a teacher, to give to the world something that you had imbibed from the institution that was yours.
When school was over in the afternoon, she worked at the Little Flower Dispensary in the school premises till late in the evening. She put her heart and soul into the noble vocation of healing all those in need of care of body and soul.
Huge pleasure to speak about Mother Amie. She was a very inspiring person, and I remember her well from my days at school. Though she didn't teach us, we saw her regularly because as school finished, she would run her homeopathic clinic, and at the dispensary there would be a long line of poor people with all sorts of ailments, and she would be there right till the very end. Many of us were inspired by her devotion and her work. And when I decided to do medicine, she was one of who inspired me to take that step. I often think of her, even now, so many years later, and really many decades past.
Not only sick people, but also those in moral distress, financial difficulties, day-to-day domestic worries, social hazards, whatever the case may be, came to Mother Amie for help, be it temporal or spiritual. Mother Amie always believed that prayers were the key to the success of her work for the people. She always gave her medicines with a little prayer.
When I was in Shillong, I was told that we have a school, Mother Amie's in Park Circus.
From Shillong, you were told?
Yes, that I can go and join. So that's how, as soon as I came here, I went to the nuns. And it was there that I first met Mother Amie. She was working in the dispensary those days.
Okay.
Yeah. And then gradually, as years rolled by, she became more close and she used to come and meet me. And then it was then that my son was also born, he was about 2-year-old. And then she started telling me, I think, Miss, you should have another child. Your son is alone in the world.
Mother Amie used to tell you
Yes. She was so practical minded. I never saw beyond that time.
Okay, you had a plan of only
Just
one child.
one child, one son. I had a son, and I was just happy. And my job was keeping me occupied. But she saw my future, not my future, my son's future. That after we are gone, then he will have a brother or a sister. It was then only that we started thinking seriously whether we should have another child or not.
So we have to believe that Mother Amie actually sowed the seed of
Yes, definitely, 100%. Otherwise, no.
So when you got your daughter, she must have been very
Yes, she
excited.
was very, very excited, and today I thank her. Because of her, I have a wonderful daughter.
And like your family is complete.
It's because of Mother Amie, I think. Today my son has a sister and my daughter has a brother. Take care of each other in America.
So she was not only a doctor for you or a nun in the school, but she was actually in your family.
A family member. Even my mother wouldn't tell me a thing like that. How much she said. I have become a little emotional.
That's quite natural, Miss. That she did. Like you, now, even after so many years, you realize what she did.
Oh yes. Now I realize more. Because if my daughter was not there, Mama was not there, what would I do now? With my son working in America, my daughter calls me every day, Ma, come on, that she asks me. It was only because of Mother Amie's blessings.
On 23rd February 1965, Mother Amie started a dispensary in Kalyanpur in the district of North 24 Parganas in West Bengal. Father Gabriel Barefoot and Mother Amie worked together for years and started the dispensary in the front veranda of the presbytery. Today, through Mother Amie's valiant efforts, the Sisters of Our Lady of the Missions have a convent, an orphanage, a dispensary cum maternity center in Kalyanpur. Mother Amie, the visionary, had started pisciculture, and rabbit farming to make this unit a self-sustaining facility.
And I remember she's going to Kalyampur. When we started Kalyampur, she used to go once a week with homeopathic medicine. I used to go with her to the hospital to visit patients.
Okay.
Apart from her dispensary there, she used to go and visit the hospitals.
Okay.
Those days we had to travel two, not one alone. So she used to take me.
And she was very fond of music and she was very good in music.
Yes, she was very good. She used to play music. And she told me, one day she told me, you got a lovely voice. But it has to be trained, she said. That's the first time I ever heard from her or from anybody saying that I got a lovely voice. Because all that time they used to think I didn't have any voice.
Okay.
So I never went to the choir.
Okay.
Learned singing. I learned singing by hearing it.
I have met her several times. When I come from Calcutta, from Kalyampur to Calcutta. But I was very struck by the number of people at the dispensary coming to meet her, get help, either medical or financial or her advice or whatsoever. Such a French lady or sister could be such a zealous missionary. Came to India, putting up with all these inconveniences, the heat and all the rest. I used to pray for her.
On a Thursday, she made sure that I accompanied her to Chittaranjan Hospital to visit the patients, and she would know who the patients are, and she would pray over them, and then we returned to the convent. So it was a real joy for me. On the way, our payment, we will have so many poor people remaining there on the payment. Then she will bless them, she will pray over them, and she will talk to them. And the beauty of Mother Amie, she was so spiritually engrossed about the poor people and how she could be of any source of help to them. And then she would be there always at every meal with the community, and she would be there always at prayer. And then she would be, she would be very attentive with us children and the Montessori upstairs. And then she would play the organ or
the piano.
Yes, piano. And they will sing and dance and everything. Sometimes I used to go and listen and watch because I was doing the Montessori course and I love little ones. So what I admired in Mother Amie, any time mother's that radiance in her,
Yes,
a spirit of joy that she is really giving her. Real life, that the sacrifice that she made, and I pray for her every day. That is my because that she inspired me so much to remain faithful, though she was suffering very much, but her suffering was mainly for the poor.
I used to hear about Mother Amie during my training period when I was in the novitiate. And after becoming sister, my first assignment was to Park Circus. And when I came, we were so happy. And Sister Sebastian took to introduce me to Mother Amie. And those days we were wearing the habit. She was not happy with me at all because I didn't have that blue braid on the habit. We were the first group that came out without the blue braid. So she told me, Mother Mary will be very disappointed with you. So that's your first encounter with her. She said, Mother Mary will not be happy with you because that is her favorite color, blue, which you have given away. And so, but then what happened was she was already bedridden. So we had girls looking after her during the day and at night. so often during the floods and rain and all that winter time, the ladies didn't come, so I had to do the night duty. That meant, drilling and everything. I did it so gladly because we thought, we used to hear so much about Mother Amie, and she was a saint, and we were known even Mother Amie's sisters when I came. So that was a great joy for me to serve her in her last days, like the last 5 years. That was more or less like our life. But what I remember her of is like every night we came for recreation to her room.
Okay.
After supper, every night the whole community gathered around her bed. And we used to play cards. What we call 500. Okay. I don't know whether you know that game. So she used to hold her card and one of us will be her partners.
Okay.
So to help her because she could only use one hand. Then, so often I had been her partner because some of them like Bonavanja, Rosemary, they used to cheat during the game, which she didn't like at all. So she never liked to be their partner because she will say they will cheat. But we really enjoyed our recreation every single night. Then, every day I used to go for a few years to the dispensary. When I knew Mother Amie was the homeo doctor, I had this desire because now no one to continue in the dispensary as a homeo doctor. So I said, okay. So I began the correspondence course, and the notes that I used to get, every day I come in the night to her to ask the doubts, how to pronounce, what are the symptoms, all that. She used to tell me. She will hold my notes and she would tell me.
She could that time also?
Yes. When I came, she could remember very well. So she used to tell me this medicine, but you must look at the symptoms. All that she used to, I did that correspondence course. So I used to go down to the dispensary to practice. Now, when I was in the dispensary, many people would ask, we want Mother Amie's medicine, not your medicine. So some of them insist that I should go up and ask Mother Amie what medicine to
whether you're giving the right one or not.
And also they believed in her medicine. People believed because of their faith. Next day they would come and say, see, Mother gave the medicine and we are all right. And that used to be for me great faith that people had in her. So she felt more comfortable with the two of us. And later on, I felt that experience was very helpful in my ministry.
Bangladesh, a new nation, was born in 1971. The gory Bangladesh Liberation War impacted Eastern India in a big way. Mother Amie was deeply concerned about the welfare of the affected people, and even at the ripe old age of 77, she was knee-deep in the rescue and restoration operations for helpless thousands marred by war. During the Bangladesh operations of Caritas, Calcutta, for the relief and rehabilitation of Bangladesh refugees, Mother Amie went to Salt Lake No. 5 camp, where there were about 120,000 refugees. With the help of former Archbishop of Kolkata, Henry D'Souza, then in charge of the CRS, Mother Amie battled with the band of doctors against an epidemic of cholera and other contagious diseases. Mother Amie, who had embattled the aftermath of the 2 world wars and Bengal famine in Chittagong, Dhaka, and Burma, was now a veteran source of moral strength and comfort in such distressing situations. As a mark of their appreciation of Mother's invaluable work for the refugees, the International Red Cross in 1972 offered her a free trip to Europe and back. Mother made the best of that trip by collecting funds from the generous relatives and benefactors for her charitable work. Mother Amie received the prestigious National Teachers Award in 1965 from the President Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan. In 1977, on behalf of the Ladies Study Group of Dynamic Democracy, Mrs. A.L. Dias, the then First Lady of West Bengal, honored Mother Amie with an award for her outstanding social work. Mother Amie had the joy of celebrating at Queen of the Missions, Calcutta, her Golden Jubilee of Profession on 5th July 1962, her Diamond Jubilee in 1972, and her Platinum Jubilee in 1982.
To my knowledge, Mother Amie was a very caring, loving and person with compassion, and doing all she can in order to help others, whether they were in need of material help or physical need or broken home or regard to admission to the classes or to get a visa for people to go abroad. She was available for everybody, and she had time for the community. She loved the community. I was a member of the community, and we experienced her closeness. Every day we go to her for recreation. We used to have a lot of fun with her. She laughed with us. She make a lot of humor in her. Whatever we said, she will oppose that way. She was very jolly person. And she also loved her people. When pictures and all used to come, pictures and photos and all come from France, she will show it to us. She remember her young days, her young children. She was a normal person. Though she was a religious, she was also cared and loved by her dear ones, and she also in return loved them, prayed for them, and they visited her several times and helped her with finance in order to give care for the orphans. And when she got a chance to go abroad, she didn't want to go. She said, waste of money, flight, but she took that opportunity to get help for the poor.
Mother Amie suffered a coronary attack in 1978. Cardinal Lawrence Picacci and Mother Saint Teresa of Calcutta, her close friends, visited her regularly. Also, Bishop Linus Gomes, S.J., and Bishop Alan D. Lastic, her past pupils, and Bishop Louis La Revoire Moreau of Krishnanagar visited her often. Students, teachers, benefactors, friends, and patients visited her. Little children on their own would make their way to the chapel and then to Mother Amie's room the first thing in the morning. Her nephews, grandnieces, and other family friends from France visited her in the last years to cheer her. Dr. Anil Banerjee, who predeceased her, attended to Mother Amie with the devotion of a son. On Friday, 27 June 1986, she breathed her last, without a sigh, just gently slipping away into the wide, loving embrace of the Trinity.
Memory of Mother Amie is the clearest as a doctor when she treated my sister who was intellectually disabled, but at the same time she was admitted in the mainstream at Queen of the Missions. Occasionally, my sister used to develop very high fever, and it was in those days, it was Mother Amie who would rush out of her school schedule and cross 2 streets to treat my sister with her homeopathic medication, which was miraculous to all of us. and would treat her, sit with her, with my mother and my family till the fever went down, and come back again to school to start back on her school duties. At that time, Mother Amie was perhaps about 70 years old or more, but the energy, the stamina that she displayed during these kinds of activities was just amazing. And as far as I remember, as a schoolgirl, I would go into her dispensary, tempted by the homeopathic globules, and she would give me one after I said Amen very religiously. So that's a funny part of my schoolgirlish days. As a teacher, I found Mother Amie very, very supportive as well. Once I had developed some kind of throat problem, and it was Mother Amie again who came to my rescue, this time, not my sisters, because she had at that time left school. She came to my rescue and she told me I had teacher's throat, teacher's voice, or teacher's disease, she told me. And she laughed that I was going to have that problem quite often after that. I was also part of Mother Amie's last days, and it was on the day she passed away. I was there again to give the sisters a helping hand to prepare Mother for her last journey. And I remember that night while she lay in her coffin, the lady I remembered was never on her chair or never rested, but had been always on her feet, taking her last eternal rest to join her Creator. Till today I remember Mother Amie, and she will always be in my heart, not as the Queen of the Mission nun, not as one of the foundresses, but as someone with a heart of gold, someone who loved anyone who came to her, whether they were hungry, unclothed, or thirsty, or ill. This is what I have about Mother Amie in my life story as well.
Remembrances, condolences, and tributes flowed in from everywhere. Quoting Wenceslas Antony, our parents had come with literally nothing from Burma in 1964 due to military rule there. We were 5 children. Not only the nuns provided education to my 3 sisters, they were a great support, providing our family with spiritual and emotional support. All this was through Mother Amie. Sister Lucy from Mariam Lucy Convent of Bengaluru in her account reiterates several times that Mother was not only immensely loved, but she loved the deprived ones much more. The orphan girls of Kalyanpur have an imperishable impression of Mother Amie's uphill battle for making their lives. Mother Amie taught them to honor and respect their elders and accept all as their neighbor as God had ordained. As a tribute to Mother Amie, Our Lady Queen of the Missions School Parksakas has initiated an inter-school debate and quiz competition which has been widely embraced by the schools and the student community in Kolkata. Mother Amie's most outstanding virtue was her great zeal for bringing about the kingdom of God in every heart. She identified herself completely with India and made a choice to make India her home. She was a friend of the Tagores and the Nehrus and was in personal touch with high-ranking officials at all levels. She walked with kings but never lost her touch with the commons. She was happiest with the poorest of the poor. As an eminent doctor, she could walk into the living apartments of the Raj Bhavan and into the enclosures of the cloistered Carmel. But Mother Amie found her paradise in the Little Flower Dispensary through untiring efforts for the sick and the needy. Leaving home, parents and loved ones, at the tender age of 15, the little Marie became a valiant woman, made strong by the love of Christ, her divine spouse, with whom she is now united forever in her heavenly home. Mother Amie's motto was, "Each day God has a purpose for me, and I must always be ready to accept it." Mother Amie will live in our hearts forever. Her vision and her work will embolden generations to come to put service before self and tread the path of humble, selfless service.